Well, question 9 does tie into all of this that I've already been talking about. I had moved out of my mother's house in end of August, September of 1979. I think it was, no, it was the spring of 79. March or April 1979, I moved out of my mother's house. I'd had my job for a little while now. At the bookstore at Riverside City College, RCC. And so I was living independently. I was still seeing Christopher. Throughout the beginning of 1979, the things were kind of funny and different, and I think I'd only been living in my apartment a few months. I've been living there a few months when things weren't working very well with Chris, and I'd gone over to his house after he'd come home from school, and I guess he'd been secretly dating this girl, and I walked in on them fucking and blew my cool. I punched Chris in the nose. I guess I broke his nose. It's probably the only good hit I've ever thrown. Left his house, went over to my mom's house, broke into it, stole a fifth of vodka, went back to my apartment, which was a little studio apartment with a kitchenette and a bathroom, a one-room job. But it was cool. It had a skylight in the kitchen, which had a pot plant growing in. I proceeded to very deliberately slash my wrist this time. This was May 1979. I think I told Chris I was going to do that. He must have called my mother. My mother came by, freaked out, saw the blood and how drunk I was, called the police. In the meantime, Chris, who was 15 at the time, drove to my apartment with his mother's car with his mother next to him because he didn't even have a license. Got there right before the cops did, pulled out my pot plant. I guess he tried to comfort me or something, but I was babbling incoherently. I was taken to Riverside General Hospital, had my wrist sewn up, which I still have the scars. I sliced diagonally, not up and down the vein, which is I guess the way you're supposed to do it, but my previous wrist slashing the year before had been more like mutilation, actually, of which I still have the scars to both times. But this time was more serious, and I guess I was released after just a day or two in the hospital. Continued on feeling very depressed about Chris until June of 1979 when I was seeing a counselor, and he was a worthless piece of shit. I don't think he liked my being homosexuality or anything, and anyway, he prescribed some sleeping pills for me because I just said, oh, I'm having trouble sleeping, and I proceeded to take I think there were about 40 of those. Went down to Fairmount Park to this river bottom area right by there, which is like a jungle, and with trails all through it. Went down there, proceeded to take all the pills, drink all the booze, and made a very serious attempt on my life, which really was my last full-on serious attempt. That was June 1979. That was when, I guess after the pills and tequila I was drinking, started taking effect, and I fell face down right next to the edge of a stream with my head turned just enough so I could breathe. I'd called Chris's mom and told her that I'd had it. I'm leaving, goodbye. Because I guess I wanted him to know somehow that I was doing all this because of him. So they didn't find me until 24 hours later, which in that jungle area. It was a Boy Scout camp, and I guess Boy Scouts hiking around had found me. By that time I was in a coma. I was comatose, and I stayed in a coma for 5 days and was taken to Riverside General Hospital, which is in downtown Riverside. And from there, I guess when I started coming to, I was transferred to the county facility where they had a psychiatric ward, where I was kept there for about a week and kept under evaluation and stuff, and very drugged up. I distinctly remember shuffling down the hallways singing Ramon's song, were in all the magazines, gulping down Thorazines, singing Happy Family to myself, and just really shrank into myself. People came and visited me there, though. And then they transferred me to a place out in Corona, which is, it was more like a therapy place, and I was there for 2 weeks. It was weird. I had a sexual encounter with my roommate there, and this girl was trying to hit up on me, and I just wasn't into that. But it was there. I distinctly had my first image therapy session. It was like a group session thing, and I distinctly remember being able to say goodbye to Chris and this image in my head, and went back to being myself after they released me. That was summer of 1979. Patti Smith's Wave album had come out right before all that shit happened, where I tried to kill myself. I remember Tim and I going to that her concert at the Hollywood Palladium. I think by that time I'd already seen The Clash again at Santa Monica Civic, so I was back into full-on being a punk rocker. I still had long hair all up through that time until the fall. Actually, until 1980, I had kept my long hair. I thought it was very Joey Ramone. I'd cut it kind of shag cut before, I guess in 78. But I let it grow long again because I felt like it was like Patti Smith hair, you know, or Joey Ramone. I didn't care. I remember getting some shit for my hair once at a show. So I kept the long hair until 1980. Let me see what your next question is. Yeah, that summer of 79 was also a big summer for shows at the Squeeze. That was also the time we met the Reactors, which was San Bernardino's first punk band. Started hanging out with them. The Dickies had played in spring of 78, beginning of 78, February 78, I believe. The Stains had played with Fear. X, the Go-Go's. The Zeros, I believe, played. The Plugs played. I distinctly remember the Plugs. That must have been fall, about the time their album Electrify Me came out. The Germs album had come out. I think I got it at the end of summer '79 or fall of '79. I saw the Dead Kennedys was the last show I went to at the Squeeze, and that was just a trip. They'd only had their single California Uber Alice out, which I remember I got. Their album, I don't think, came out until 1980. So that was the last show at the Squeeze, and by the summer of 1980, it was torn down, and that's when I got a piece of the cornice, the ledge that was on the facade, and I'd gotten a brick from there. So that was a very intense time for going to shows, and I know I was going out to shows in LA. Trying to think who though, because the Germs at the Fleetwood was February 1980. I can't remember what all shows I saw in LA then. But I know we were going. It was also, well, it was 1980 when I first went to the Cuckoo's Nest. Let me see what the next question is. Typical evening at the Squeeze. Well, the Squeeze had been a nightclub probably since the 40s. Before that, it was just a brick square building. Apparently it had either been called in its earlier nightclub incarnation the Gas Company, or it actually was some kind of an actual gas company. But anyway, it was all brick. Double doors, ticket booth on the right, like a little cut-out window. It was painted all black inside. In all true punk rock clubs, the toilets were always gross and smelly and overflowing. The plumbing hardly ever worked. I wasn't 21 at the time, so I remember beer being available there and seeing other people drink it, but we'd always drank before going in at the Mission Inn. It was just a dank club, all black. A stage on the right-hand corner, not unlike the Whiskey, a triangle-shaped stage that took up a corner of the room with small cafe tables and chairs with a small dance floor in front that people would smash and pogo in. Well, we'd pogoed up until, actually, the Dead Kennedys show was probably one of the more violent ones, though I do remember leaving, spitting and cursing at people on stage. And I used to do this dance with Renee where we would we'd hold on to each other's wrists and lean back and swing each other around and around, and we would frequently knock into tables and drinks would go flying. But I remember at the Dead Kennedys show, Jello Biafra just diving off the stage. Everybody was pogoing in front, diving over everybody's head, which was probably one of the first times I ever got a boot upside my head, and somebody flying off stage, right onto the bunch of tables, drinks were flying, he was still singing, and just chaos, fucking crazy fun, that energy, the place was never really packed, but there was always at least 20 to 30 people there. I think up to 50, 60 for the Dickies, and there were always good shows at the Squeeze. Really good shows. Couldn't have picked a better place to start checking bands out in small clubs than that, unless I'd been in LA and going to the Mask. But at that time period, really in Southern California, there was the Mask in Hollywood and the Squeeze in Riverside, and that was about it, except for the occasional a hall show like the Elks Lodge or those kind of shows.